and share my testimony. This is something I've debated on doing for a while now. It's been on my mind, but every time I would go to get on Facebook or Instagram to share, I would always back out. Because this isn't something that's easy to talk about. It's something that I want to talk about, but it's just not easy to be this vulnerable. But I feel like if I share it, maybe there's somebody that needs to hear it. Maybe there's someone who's going through something. It doesn't have to be losing your child. It could be anything. But maybe there's someone who needs to hear it. So yeah, I'm just gonna start. So I'm not gonna go into detail about like what happened, but I will say it was a whirlwind of emotions. You go from, I'm not gonna cry, okay? You go from the highest high you've ever experienced in your life, having your baby, seeing it for the first time, and all those feelings. Of course she was premature, but I still felt all the highs, even though I was scared of what was to come due to her being premature. But I don't know what my dog's doing. Ring. But then quickly all the highs turned into lows as well. Shortly after birth, maybe 3 hours. I don't really know a time limit because I'm not good with the times during all this. But, things started taking a turn for the worst. And, I held her for the first time, knowing it was going to be the last time. And it was just really hard. But I held it together. Not really. But I held it together the best I could because she was there. I had that opportunity. But after she passed away, she passed away at like 9:29 or something. And after she passed away, it was still like not real because I had her with me. I was holding her. All my family was there. They were congratulating me because we did have a baby. But they were also, sad for us because she passed away. So after she passed away, we were all in a hospital room. It was like a family room though, not like a hospital room. And, me and Cody were surrounded by some family members and our pastor and pastor's wife, and they were just with us the entire time. I think finally everybody started to leave. I think we got back to our room around 5 o'clock that day. And my mom went back home, so it was just me and Cody in the hospital room with Holland. And, she was passed away at this time. So I think that's really when it started to hit me. Whew, I said I wasn't going to cry. Okay. I think that's when it really started to hit me. Like, everybody left. It was just us and our baby who was not really here. She was here physically, but not, everything else. So the anger started coming. I was sitting there holding her, and I was sitting there holding her, and all of the feelings of being proud, were there. And sorry. All the feelings of a proud mom were there. Because I'm sitting there holding her, or Cody was holding her, and so we were just so proud because she was so pretty. This just happened. We just had this baby. So we were so happy, and Then it quickly turned to I'm happy and mad. I was mad as hell. Um, I remember telling my mom, I don't think I've ever told anyone this, but I remember telling my mom so many things before she left me and Cody at the hospital. I remember her telling her that, I don't ever want to talk about God again. I said those things. I was like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want anybody to talk to me about him. I don't want to hear about prayers. I don't want anything. I was like, he took my baby. I don't want nothing. Dealing with him, I don't want it. Don't talk to me about it. And the next day, we had Holland overnight. The next day, the funeral home come and got her. If you sent comments, I'm not looking right now because I'll get distracted. But the funeral home come and got her the next day, probably around 11. Cody's sister had come that morning to see her before she left. So we still were, being visited. So, the anger hit me the night before, but we were still distracted. So then we come home. But before I actually got in the car to go home, I was getting wheeled to the car. Cody had to go around and get the car, And, I swear, there was literally 6 families waiting right there beside me with their babies for their husband to come get them. And I kid you not, they were all girls. I didn't see one boy. Unless they got boys in pink. I didn't see one boy. So, I was, not okay. I was just I remember crying on the way home, telling Cody, do you know how that felt coming home from the hospital, waiting by myself in a wheelchair, surrounded by other moms with their daughters, So, needless to say, I was not in a good mindset. So I come home. I'm talking a lot. Anyways, my whole point is I come home and a lot of feelings hit me. And a lot of them were anger. I was mad at God. Like I said before, I didn't understand it. I asked him, and I know it's normal to ask him why, but there was, I don't know, at least a couple days, maybe a week, probably a week. I would say a week, but I really don't know. Time frame that if anyone knows me, I've had God in my life for my entire life. My grandma Jackie, my mom, I was raised in church. I've just always had God in my life. And I've lost people before, and it hurt, and I was, really upset. But it wasn't until I lost Holland that I was real mad. And I look back now, and I wish I didn't go through that, because I don't like to be that mad at God. I've never been that mad before, but I don't like the way I felt. And I started to realize I didn't like the way I felt. So I know some people were telling me, just you need to talk to God. You need to, spend time with him. Tell him your frustrations. Don't just, push him away. And at first I was like, I'm not listening to that mess. And I'm not saying I completely ripped him out of my life, but he was pretty close. I'm not gonna lie. He was not my favorite person. I was mad. I remember telling myself over and over and over, why would God give me this baby? Let me get pregnant after, trying. Let me get this far in my pregnancy, have her do so good, and then take her. I asked him that all the time. Of course, I was never getting answers, but I swear, I asked myself that over and over, and I was just mad and bitter at him. So I don't really know what the turning point was for me. Nothing really happened to turn my anger into something else. I just know that one day I just woke up and I didn't want to be mad at him anymore. So I would come in Holland's nursery and I'd just sit up here. Sometimes I would just think the things I wanted to say in my head. And I do think that even when you think things, he knows what you're thinking. So, like, I started to voice things also. And I was just talking. Some people might think I'm weird for talking to myself. But I was just up here talking. And I was like, I don't want to be mad anymore. I want to see the blessings. And I couldn't see any blessings. Like, I was blessed to have her and to be her mom. But I didn't see... When I say I'm in a bad spot, I was in a bad spot. So, then just one day, like I said, I just got up, and from that day forward, I was no longer, mad at him for taking, I was not mad at him for allowing me to get pregnant and taking her. I don't think now that I don't think he, does bad. I don't think God, everybody tries to say those little cliche things like, God allows things to happen for a reason. God gives his battles to the strongest soldiers. God, whatever. That's not in the Bible. So that's not always true. I don't think... I do think Holland had a purpose, but I don't think her purpose was to die. But I do think she was put here for a purpose. I think I was allowed and able to get pregnant with her. I think I was able to meet her, and it was all a purpose, because he could have easily let me miscarry again. So... just one day, all the mad feelings just kind of went away, and I just started feeling, blessed. I decided to start finding the blessings within the heartache, and it was really hard to, not find the blessing, because I knew my blessings, but it was hard to, not ignore, but it was hard to just navigate the blessings versus all this heartache that I'm going through. But now this is the way I look at it, and since that day of the turnaround time, this is just how I look at it from now on. God allowed me to get pregnant with Holland. After trying to conceive for over a year, he allowed me to get pregnant. He allowed me all of the times with her while she was in my womb, kicking, anything, all the good things that I, had in my pregnancy. He let me feel that. He let me know that she liked Mountain Dew, and that when I drank Mountain Dew every now and then, she was going to go crazy. Just things that a mom bonds with their kids with when they're in the womb. I'm blessed to have had that. And no, it's not ideal to find out at 22 weeks that I had incompetent cervix. But I think that's just something that just happens. I don't think God, allowed it to happen for this heartache to become a thing. Sometimes things bad just happen. Um, he doesn't torture us. Just whenever Adam and Eve ate that, apple and made sin, that just allowed bad things to happen to people. I don't think that's God allowing it to happen. I think when man and woman created sin, that's how all these bad things happen. I don't even know if I'm making sense. But anyways. So I then proceeded to continue counting my blessings. My biggest blessing is being able to have a normal delivery. Like, yes, it was a C-section, and yes, it was last minute, but I got to experience that. And I was planning on having a C-section anyways because of some, reasons, but we were planning a planned C-section. So the C-section wasn't like a surprise to me. It was just the timing of it was. But I was able to have a C-section, and I was very anxious about that C-section. But it all turned out good. I was able to hear Holland cry for the first time. She was breathing on her own for 2 hours after birth. Me and Cody were blessed with 8 hours with her. We didn't have to get 8 hours with her. At the end of things, she was going to die. We didn't have to get granted all those hours with her, which when you think about it, it's not that many, but it is whenever it's either that or nothing. I know I'm ranting a lot, but I just want to, my point is, I went from being really, really mad at God and blaming him and really just battling with that to, yes, I'm very sad. Yes, I'm in the midst of the worst heartache in the world. But in the midst of all that, I have tons of blessings. And because of that, I would go through this again 1,000,000 times. If that meant I could have the experience of being a mom. And due to all these experiences with Holland, I am her mom. She might not be here physically, but she's here. And I'm her mom. And I'm always going to be. And I'm thankful to be given that opportunity. I'm thankful for God allowing me to be her mom because he didn't have to. And this isn't the way I wanted to be a mom for the first time. This isn't ideal. But I truly believe that Holland was here for a purpose. She's not here anymore physically, but she has a purpose and she always will. Especially to me. But I've also seen how she's blessing other people. Because I've met so many people after all this has happened, and you would not believe how many people have, I'm not saying they've come to me about me, but they've talked about how Holland has, helped them. Like her strength, and hearing her cry has helped someone else. So she does have a purpose, and she will continue to have a purpose. My purpose now, as her mom, is to honor her every day. That doesn't mean that I am, stuck on October 2nd when I lost her. That doesn't mean I'm, obsessing over her death or anything, because I've heard these things. It's just my way of parenting. And honoring Holland's life is the least I could do. for her because she's changed mine completely. Like 8 hours on this earth from that little girl that was 1 pound and 4 ounces. The way she's changed and shaped me as a person is unbelievable. And that makes me happy. Like, I've always been religious, you know, but I've never felt as close to God as I do now. You know, we've gotten baptized. Me and Cody got baptized together, but that's beside the point. Like, I don't know. I don't know when the turning point was. I don't know times, but I know now, and I was talking about this with, I don't remember who. I think it was Taylor. But I've never felt so close to God now. You know, I'm not making sense. I've never felt as close to God as I do now. It's like, I'm trying to get the words. I feel like Holland has allowed me to feel feelings that I've never felt before. Good ones and bad ones. She, because of all this, made me really mad at God. I was really mad. And because of that, it pushed me to not be. You know, they say you get baptized and then you can be with your loved ones forever, but that's just not all you do. Once I got baptized, I was like, you know, I don't want to be that person who gets baptized and then, you know, is still mad at the world. Because what's the point? What's the point of getting baptized and then you don't change? There is no point. Or you go back to the way you were before. Because before I got baptized, I was mad at the world after all this happened. And so that little girl has really shaped my love for God, because I feel like he's the closest I could get to Holland is God right now. And one day I'll have her again and I'll never have to leave. But I feel like my love for her and my love for God now is like so, there are no words for it, and I'm in a good place. Like, I'm still heartbroken and I'm still battling through all that grief. But I'm here to say that in the midst of all the grief and in the midst of all the heartache and in the midst of everything I'm dealing with, at the end of the day, I pick myself up because I'm able to count my blessings. I pick myself up by saying, I had 8 hours with Holland. God hasn't left me. Holland heard her mama in the times I talked to her, and I just say all the blessings out loud, or even just in my head on days that I just don't even think I can get out of bed, and it gets me up. Holland may not be here physically, but she's given me so much of a purpose. Just the title of mom, I just feel like this big purpose. And due to her not being here, it's just giving me a purpose for all other things. Not just honoring her. I've helped and I continue to be friends with so many people who've gone through the same thing. And they've helped me tremendously. I've met so many amazing people all over the world. Canada, I mean, anywhere. Any state you name, I probably know somebody in it now. And these friends that I've met are like, I'm telling you, whenever you meet a friend that's in this little lost community, it is unlike any friendship you will ever have. It is speechless. I don't have any words. But I will continue to create awareness. No one really wants to talk about infant loss because no one wants to talk about something that's that depressing. But it's good to talk about it. It's good to make it generalized so people who have lost their babies can share them and not worry about what everybody's going to think. They can, share their love for them through however they want to. Because I'm here to say, I don't care how you show your love. I don't judge it, because I remember thinking some things before I went through this, thinking I would never do that. Well, I'm here to tell you, yes, you would. If all you have of your baby, I have pictures of Holland when she was alive. But if all I had was pictures of Holland when she was passed away, I would show those pictures until I was blue in the face. Because I don't care what they look like. They are here, they were here, and they matter. So if you're ever thinking like, oh my gosh, why would someone share that? Think again, because if you're in the situation, you'd probably do the same thing. I'm going to get on a whole rant about that, but Holland, I always said Holland made me strong. Like, I am strong because of her. I'm strong because I saw her fight for 8 hours just to get time with us. And I always say that is why I'm strong. And Cody corrected me probably a month ago. When I kept saying this, Cody corrected me and he was like, Morgan, she was strong because of you. You're her mom. And I don't want to take that credit because I don't feel strong. I really don't. A lot of it, I'm not going to lie, sometimes I do feel strong. Sometimes I feel strong and I can move a million mountains strong. Because if I can go through this, I can go through anything. I mean, throw it at me. Come on. But there's other days I'm like, I'm not strong. I'm barely breathing. I'm barely hanging on. I have all the feels. I have days I think I can move 20 mountains and change a million lives. And then there's days that I can barely even fix mine. And it's probably going to be like that for the rest of my life. Because grief don't go away. And especially whenever you lose your kid. But that's my spiel about that. And my little story about how I went from hating the world to being completely blown away by all the blessings I figured out that I had. Because when you're going through a heartache like this, you don't sit down and count your blessings the first time it happens. Some people may. And if you do, props to y'all. Because that's strong. But whenever you first are encountered with something, my first instinct was not, oh, stop. I gotta stop feeling this. I gotta count my blessings. That's not my first instinct. My first instinct was getting mad. Saying things I never thought I would say in my whole world. And then being sitting down and self-reflecting and being, whoa, you don't need to feel those things. So I'm just glad I was able to self-reflect and change my ways. And I really think that was God, obviously. So no, I don't think Holland was put here only for me to get this great bond with God. I don't think that was her only purpose, but that was one of them. I truly believe that was one of them. I'm not going to say, because you can have a purpose, but that doesn't mean that's why you were here and gone. Holland's purpose was a lot of things. Me getting pregnant with her gave me so much hope for my future, for me and Cody, for the rest of our lives. We had so much hope for that baby and for us and everything. And then whenever everything took a turn for the worse, that hope kind of went down the window. We didn't feel hopeful. We didn't feel anything like that. That's why I was mad. But then when I was able to self-reflect about it and think of all the blessings that I did have with her versus what I did not have with her, it helps me get back on balance. Which I'm not gonna lie, I do pick myself up by telling myself the blessings, and that does help. But I still sit here sometimes and think like, okay, I'm not gonna cry. I sit here and think, I'm not gonna see her walk. I'm not gonna see her talk. I'm not gonna see her go to kindergarten, grow up, get married. I'm not gonna have all that. That's just the sad truth. So I don't sit here, I'm not gonna lie to y'all, I don't sit here and say, let's not think about everything I don't have. Let's just think about the blessings. Like, no, I don't do that. Because one thing I've learned from going through all this, a couple people have told me. I think of a couple people whenever I think of this. Because at first, I did not want to feel the feelings of all this. I would try to keep myself so busy 24/7 so I wouldn't have to feel this. Or I'd go to sleep so I wouldn't have to feel all this. But then I talked to someone, 2 girls really pop in my head, maybe 3. Stormy, Allie, and Becca, if y'all are watching. They told me to really just let myself feel everything. Good, bad, whatever. Just let it happen. Not every day, not, 24/7, but you really do need to take the time to let yourself feel the bad feelings along with the good feelings, because if you don't and you just avoid them, they're going to hurt you even more at the end. So that's something I've learned. I'm not gonna lie, don't just sit here and think about blessings 24/7 and woo, but I let myself feel all the, oh my gosh, I'm never gonna have this, oh my gosh, this. But then I pick myself up with the blessings, if that makes sense. So I'm able to feel all the lows, but I don't go too low. I'm able to pick myself up with the blessings. I rant a lot, I'm sorry. But with all that being said, I will say, I want everybody who gets pregnant or is pregnant to just listen to your body. Don't listen to doctors all the time. Really, don't. That sounds funny, but sometimes you know your body more than someone else does. And I will say there are certain situations I knew what was going on, and my problems were generalized as normal pregnancy things. And due to some of that, I do believe things could have been a little bit different, but a lot of doctors do it. It's just their ignorant doctor stuff. I mean, I've not seen a doctor who's not done it. I've talked to, like I said, people all around the world, and I thought it was just my doctor at first, but it's everywhere. If you are spotting, but it's not, looking like this, it's normal. Or if you're hurting, but it don't feel like this, it's normal. Or if you're having contractions, but you can't count them, it's nothing. Don't believe it. You need to just listen to your body. That's all I'm going to say about that. Just listen. If you think something is the slightest bit wrong, please get checked. Please. Because I'd rather pay for a hospital bill that is $1 million for the slightest problem. I mean, a teeny bit, than something happened and you didn't do it. And I didn't do that. I'm not going to say I did that, because I didn't. But I will say what has happened in my situation was, I'm not going to go in detail because Facebook don't need to know, but I was having some things, wasn't spotting, but I called my triage nurse. She said it was, I explained, to the bone, what it was looking like, everything. And she was like, oh, that's normal. That could be your mucus plug. But don't worry, it replenishes itself. And I was like, okay. And I told my mom, and she was like, no, it doesn't. So I Googled it, and I looked it up, and I looked it up for probably 2 hours. And everywhere I looked, it said that was true. So I didn't think anything of it. I was waiting and checking it and making sure it didn't look like what she said would be alarming. And it never did. So I didn't think anything was wrong. My nurse told me nothing was wrong. Well, here we are. That was clearly my mucus plug. And I've read now that with incompetent cervix, your mucus plug most of the time won't replenish itself. So there that is. But, and I'm not even going to get into the whole incompetent cervix part, where that's a whole nother video in itself. But I've stressed this till I can't anymore. When I was first pregnant, my mama told the doctors that she has incompetent cervix, my cousin has it, and then my mama's cousin has it. And she was concerned that I might have it. And they were just like, well, it's not proven to be genetic, so we don't do anything as far as checking to see if you have incompetent cervix unless a problem arrives. So she did not like that answer, but I didn't think anything of it. I was just like, innocent pregnant person. I didn't know. Then a problem arrived, and I had it. So I do think I could have been listened to there. And then when I was in the hospital on bed rest, I complained about backaches and other things. And I was told that if I was not able to count my contractions and I was not able to feel a real contraction, it wasn't serious. So she told me to sit and try to count them. And I tried, and it wasn't working because it was just a permanent hurt in my back. And I told her that. And the nurse told me that, well, that's not real contractions. Here's some Tylenol. You're just hurting from the bed. What was I supposed to think? I'm laying in a bed, and my butt was hurting. I know that wasn't pregnancy related. So maybe I'm just having backaches from laying in the bed. What was I supposed to do? 2 days later, Holly makes her arrival. If I were listened to and checked at that time, I think things could be a little bit different. But my whole point about telling you all this is just listen to your body. If you think something's not right, continuously say that you don't think something's right. So eventually maybe they'll look for you. So I don't know if this whole video even made sense, but it's 40 minutes long, so I'm going to get off. I have other things I want to talk about, but I think I'll just make a video of it on its own. I don't know if anybody will want a video about it, but I would like to get on here eventually and talk about incompetent cervix and what it is and all that mess. I love you too. So, that wasn't me being vulnerable. I just really wanted to get on here and let y'all know that It's okay to struggle with God. It's okay to be mad at him, but talk to him about it. Just like any relationship, if you're mad at your husband, you don't just ignore it and continuously get madder and madder and madder. That just leads to horrible things. If you're mad at your husband, you talk to him about it and tell him why, and maybe that can be resolved. Same thing with God. If you're mad at him, like in my situation, I was mad at him for taking Holland. Like I said, I don't think he really took Holland from me. He didn't say, here's your baby, now give me your baby. I think it's just something that comes along with life because sin was created and bad things happen. I mean, we're all put here for a purpose. I'm not going to say there's a difference in having a purpose and God letting you be here for a reason, or God allowing things to happen for a reason. God didn't allow my daughter to die for a reason. But he allowed me to go through what I went through, to have her, to go through trials and everything, to get me to where I am now. I think that is true. Because in the beginning, I was in a bad spot. And it really took some self-evaluation, talking to God, and really thinking, what would Holland want from me? Because I didn't want to be this person who was mad at God and mad at the world. I didn't want to be that. That wasn't me. And I always said, I'm not going to cry on this. I always said my grandma Jackie is the strongest person I have ever met. She lost so many people. Her son, her daughter, her husband, her mom. I mean, multiple, not just those. But Grandma Jackie has been through so much. And her faith is the biggest faith I have ever seen in a person before. And I remember talking to my cousin Catherine multiple times about how Grandma's the strongest person. I don't understand how she can go through as much as she goes through in life and still remain with the most faith. I never understood that. I was just like, Grandma's just a saint. And that's just what I left it at. But it wasn't until I was put in a situation to go through the worst thing in the world to understand how my grandma did it and continues to do it. Because when you're put in a situation, it's not like, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you're doing it. I get people saying that. I just don't know how you do it, girl. I don't either. I don't know how I'm living. I don't know how I wake up in the morning looking at my daughter's picture on the wall, and that's how I wake up to her. I don't know how I do it either. But by the grace of God, I do it. Because I believe I now have a greater purpose than I've ever had before. I do it. I'm someone's mom. I'm someone's wife. I'm not just, I can't just sit here and not do it. So, that's why I do it. A basket case. But anyways, that's my spiel. That's my story. And I'm sticking to it. Thank you to everybody who's watched or will watch. I don't know if this is going to touch anybody. But I really just wanted to get this out there because it's been sitting on my heart a lot. And I've talked to one of my friends about it. And I told her I wanted to share this, but I always kept making excuses. And you know, whenever God just weighs something on your heart and it's just sitting there and sitting there like it needs to come out, that's how this was. So, I can finally breathe. I feel like it's out. So yeah. Thanks everyone for all the support. And a big thing I've learned, and I will say that I have struggled with this in the past, but when people go through something like this and lose somebody so close like this, after the funeral is when they need you the most. After the funeral and after months have gone by and everything's, this new normal, that's when people need you the most and need your prayers the most. Because when you're going through the funeral and all the new stuff about losing people, you have so much going on, you don't sit and feel everything. So you don't really go through all of it there at once. So it's really not until later, months from now, years from now, that people really need you. They really need your prayers then, not just in the beginning. And that's something I've learned. Because I was really quick to, like, when something happened to someone, I'd pray for them, and I'd say, if I'm here if you need me, and then I wouldn't reach out. I'm not gonna lie. We're human. But I've learned to be a better person. I really think Holland changed me. She brought me closer to God. So, yep, that's my story. I'm gonna get off here because if I don't, I'll talk to this computer for another 3 hours. So, thanks everybody for watching. I hope it helps someone. Love you guys. Thank you.